here's Brody Brazil.
Technically, this video is about an AHL franchise, but more importantly, it's about a previous NHL market that is still not going to have a professional hockey team. What am I talking about here? The Tucson Roadrunners are staying in Tucson for the most part. They're not officially moving to the Phoenix metro area, most specifically Tempe and Mullet Arena, the former home of the Arizona Coyotes. So why is that important? Why is this up for discussion? Let me give you all the background here. So you know that next season is going to mark the start of the Arizona Coyotes' absence in the desert. They are officially the NHL in Utah. They don't have a team name yet. This all happened so quick, but the Coyotes for now are technically an inactive franchise. They don't exist, but they also don't not exist, if that makes sense. Alex Murillo, he sold the Coyotes. He still owns the AHL's Tucson Roadrunners, so that was the affiliate, right? Tucson was the top affiliate to the Arizona Coyotes. They're separated by about 100 miles, Phoenix to the north, Tucson to the south. But Alex Murillo and his family, they were kind of forced into selling the Coyotes to the NHL, who sold them to the Smith Entertainment Group. But Murillo still owns the AHL team in Arizona and now is figuring out exactly what to do with them. Murillo, by the way, is seeking to win that land auction from the state of Arizona. That happens in, well, now less than a month. If he wins it, he gets about 100 acres north of the Loop 101. He's going to try and develop it. And the NHL has promised in a 5-year window, if he starts building an NHL arena, he officially gets his team back. They'll do it expansion style. They'll have an expansion draft. But that's why this is a weird situation. It's not like the Coyotes don't exist anymore. Technically, they're inactive. Murillo owns the rights to that. I guess he owns the rights to the market. He can kind of do whatever he wants, considering he also owns the AHL team. He would need some approvals, but he can start the wheels in motion. But it apparently seems like that's not going to happen here. He had some thoughts, right, of moving the AHL team from Tucson to the Phoenix area or splitting their season in some way, shape, or form. It's 36 games, I think, is the home schedule, so 18 and 18. And look, it didn't make sense, which I'll get into my thoughts on it momentarily. But there was some talk and some conversation about how do you fill the void in Tempe and in the Phoenix area where there's a bigger hockey market, more people. How do you do that? Maybe by using your AHL team, but it just seems like things were already pretty thin. Well, just yesterday, it came out, the Roadrunners officially announced, this is their statement from yesterday, that the team will play a minimum of 30 games in the Tucson Arena in downtown Tucson during the 2024-25 season and will remain in Tucson as the home market for the American Hockey League Club for the foreseeable future. There's a look at Tucson Arena. I'm hoping that's pregame. The Zams are out. The crowd is filling in. But that's good news, I think, that the Tucson Roadrunners are not trying to fill that weird and empty void of the NHL not being in the Phoenix area for the time being. Their statement continues on first with a quote from a chairman of the Rio Nuevo District and then their own commentary. Quote, "The Roadrunners staying here is a win for the region and great news for Arizona hockey," said Fletcher McCusker, who is the chairman of the Rio Nuevo District. Quote, "Tucson is to Phoenix as Austin is to Dallas, a professional sports super region. We want Tucson to be the AHL piece of that kind of partnership." And that makes sense, right? Like Tucson still has something important. They don't necessarily want to give it up because then when you give it up, do you ever get it back? It gets messy and slippery in a lot of ways, which we'll get into. The Roadrunners will enter their 9th season of play in Tucson this fall and over the past several weeks have been in discussion with the city of Tucson and the Rio Nuevo District to find a solution to keep the team in Tucson. Well, I don't know if does there need to be a solution? Like, do they need a new building? The Roadrunners will continue to play at least 30 home games at Tucson Arena, located in the Tucson Convention Center. I mean, look, you've already got the NHL team gone because of the failure to find a new venue. I just hope that they're locked in to playing games at a serviceable building in Tucson, keep that market, keep that crowd happy. If you're in Phoenix, you want to go to a game, it's not that far of a drive away. I'm glad they're staying in Tucson. And so it goes like this, 30 games at minimum in Tucson. They're still, I think, going to play about 6 games at Mullet Arena in Tempe. So they are going to have probably a weekend or 3, actually, of back-to-back games, maybe Friday, Saturday, Saturday, Sunday. You know how the AHL schedule works. There's a lot of back-to-backs in there. So they'll be keeping 6 games at Mullet Arena on the campus of Arizona State University. So to some degree, they're trying to keep hockey present in the Phoenix metro market. I guess that makes sense. 6 games is manageable. It's not by any means a majority or a thick portion of the schedule. I'm okay with that. If you wanted to split, I probably wouldn't be okay with that. If you wanted to up and move Tucson to Tempe, I also would not have been okay with that, because the domino effect of moving 2 teams, in my opinion, is a net negative. You've already taken away the Phoenix fan base and their team, and then you're going to do that same thing to Tucson just to satisfy Phoenix, but then Phoenix isn't going to be completely happy because it's not the NHL, it's the AHL, and by the way, it's the AHL affiliate of the team that just left and is now in Utah. That's awkward, which we'll get to. I also think splitting time between Tempe and Tucson would have been logistically impossible. I say difficult here, but logistically impossible. Like, you don't want to have 36 total home games and 18 here, 18 there. It's not like these are 5-10 minutes apart. It's a 90-minute drive or more with some traffic. And if you're a player and you're home and your practice schedule and game days and back and forth, like that's, you're already traveling enough. During a hockey season, even at the AHL level, when you're home, you want to be resting at home, not making the run back and forth between Phoenix and Tucson. And yeah, there is still that interesting dynamic here that the team, the Roadrunners, are still the affiliate of what is now Utah's NHL team. And so when Tucson players get good, guess where they go? Just like the Coyotes, up to Salt Lake City. And so that's going to need to change someday, right? Like, there are some long-term things here to figure out. Utah needs to have their own AHL team, but then what do you do? You know what I'm saying? There are some musical chairs here that have to be figured out. And technically, if the Coyotes are treated like expansion, they should probably maintain and retain the Tucson team, and maybe Salt Lake City can pop up their own AHL franchise somewhere else, convenient out in the West. So yeah, there is that dynamic that the Roadrunners are still the former Coyotes affiliate. It gets messy there. They're going to have to figure this out some way down the road. Tucson, in my opinion, should remain intact as the feeder city. You're changing enough here. Leave this alone for the time being. Always have Tucson be the Phoenix feeder city. Just like the council person mentioned there. Have them be the feeder to the major market team. The minor league team replacing the major league market team, in this case, like if the Roadrunners went to Tempe and said, hey, Phoenix, we got pro hockey, you won't be missing out here. I just feel like that could flop. Trying to bring a minor league team into straight up replace a major pro sports level team, I don't know that that's going to get the audience. And then they'll say, well, hockey doesn't work here. Look, they're not even supporting the AHL team. But yeah, it's the AHL team of their former NHL team, and it's AHL hockey still at a college rink. You see what I'm saying? All these things just were not going to add up to a good visual or probably a good business model. And in fact, I think the arena in Tucson holds 6,500. At Mullet Arena, it's like 4,500. So the possibilities are still way greater in Tucson than in Tempe. Now, as somebody who's not a local, it's not necessarily my place to say, well, this is close enough, and if you live in and around Phoenix, it's not that far of a drive. But when you do the Google Maps and the Apple Maps, it's about 110 miles between these two arenas, Tucson Arena and Mullet Arena. So for anybody wanting their fix that lives in Phoenix and you want to go visit the Roadrunners, go down to Tucson. It's a short drive. It makes sense. It's not that unreachable. And for the time being, it's unfortunate. All of this was unfortunate. Nothing is meant to make this easier, but it's still an option for you that the Tucson team still exists and within reach of the Phoenix area. I think the Murillo Group and the Phoenix area, including their mayor and the Scottsdale folks, I think they're all better suited to focus on getting an NHL team back instead of trying to find temporary solutions or appeasing people or to make do with this or that. They need to figure out this land auction. Can Murillo actually develop it? Let's also be clear here. There's 2 parts about it. Number 1, winning the land auction is its own thing. But number 2, being able to develop it. And he wants to add the amusement park tax situation on top of it, where there's no income tax, there's no property tax, but there is sales tax that he can retain. It gets very messy. There's 2 parts about this. Buying the land and actually getting the approvals are 2 different things. But Phoenix and the area and the ownership group, they need to focus on getting the NHL back not necessarily poaching the Roadrunners or using them for any temporary type situation. So that's the very latest from Tucson and Tempe and Phoenix. And by the way, I highly encourage you here at the end of this video to go give PHNX Sports a follow and a subscribe. They obviously do a great job, have been for a long time covering the Coyotes and now covering all the developments here on YouTube as it relates to the future of NHL hockey in Arizona. So give them a follow, PHNX Sports, again, doing a great job. You've made it here to the end of this video. Thumbs up down below for that. That'll help me, this video, and this channel. I really appreciate that. And I'd also love if you go down there right now and hit that subscribe button. That way, I can definitely see you back here next time.